Hey everyone, before the show starts, just a quick reminder if you're listening to this on Saturday, June 6th, when this comes out, I have an improv show tonight, 9:30 p.m. All the doors open at 9 p.m. over at Improv Collective in Costa Mesa. The team I'm on, the Huntington Beach Boys, we have our IFL match, our last regular match of the IFL season. And yeah, it's going to be fun, so go check that out. Go to improvcollective.fun, see the calendar of events there. And also performing with Gene Wilder on June 20th, which is also a Saturday, over at Fountain Valley Summerfest. You can go to summerfestfv.com for info on that whole event. We perform at 8 p.m. that day. So yeah, lots of fun stuff. Alright, thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show.
You're listening to Delayed Replay, the podcast where we recap and review movies that got delayed in that other universe for various reasons, but came out on time in our universe, and therefore come out pretty different for some reason. You might think this is improvised, and well, that's on you. I'm Steven Shinder, and welcome to the show. Airing sometimes every other week, sometimes one week and then the next week. It really depends. Just roll with it.
Season 7.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to another episode of Delayed Replay, that podcast where we recap and review movies that got delayed in that other universe but came out on time in our universe. I'm your host, Steven Shinder, and joining me for this episode, purposely coming out on June 6th, because, 6/6/2026, that whole thing, about Insidious Out of the Further. It is Greg once again. How's it going?
All good, just dying in the heat wave.
Oh, yeah. Man,
But
that summer, it's dreadful.
I mean, it's autumn, it's spring weather, and it's like 30 degrees. It's not fun.
Right, yeah. So, to start off, what's sort of your history and overall feelings with the Insidious franchise?
Well, I've seen them I think since they first came out. Um, I enjoyed the first four films because they're all quite intertwined, like going back in on each other, and it felt like the Saw franchise in that sort of way. Um, But after that, it just got really stupid, and just watching it for the giggles because it you can't take any of them seriously after like the first four, I think.
Yeah, I think we were both in agreement that the fifth one was our least favorite. Like, one and two focus on this family, and then three and four are prequels. We get to see more of Elise and her two other paranormal investigator friends, one of which is played by Lee Winnell, which I thought was cool. And then the Red Door returns to that family and talks about how you can't just forget the past. Like, you should remember I guess, saying something about remembering trauma, but still being able to move forward. But it still felt like more of the same overall, that film. That one was like a 6 out of 10 for me. But yeah, I remember when the first one came out. The song in the movie, Tiptoe Through the Tulips, I think it is, that made such a huge impression. I was in high school when that came out, and I remember at one of the pep rallies or assemblies or whatever at my school, a few of the students made some sort of video. I don't remember what the video was for, but it was like this silly little thing that they showed at the assembly where they pretended they were like looking in a dark room, so it shows their faces and then it cuts to that demon, the Darth Maul looking demon, and
Yeah,
tiptoe through the tulips, and then cuts back to the students and they're just running away from that, closing the door and then running through the school, a noticeable shift in production value. One is obviously from the film, one is obviously just shot at the high school, and they go into this dark room and are with a flashlight, and they're like, "Okay, I think we're safe." And then the light turns off, and they're like, "Ah!" It was so silly. But yeah, people are like really into that song at the time. It's like a staple of this franchise, basically. And it makes a return in this one. What did you think of the way that that song is played in this particular one, Insidious Out of the Further?
Well, it was a cover this time. It wasn't the was it Tiny Tim? Is it Tiny Tim?
Well,
Yeah.
from A Christmas Carol.
No, the guy who sings.
Yeah, it's him. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so they have like a cover, but because they're trying to bring it like up to date, and it is absolutely awful. Like there's like a there's this guy rapping on it, and then
Yeah.
had like a massive like too much like bass and like electronic bits added that it just felt really confusing. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't scary at all anymore.
Yeah, it's got like EDM and stuff. Like
Yeah.
they try to play it during the opening credits. I guess it's supposed to try to pump up the audience, being like, yeah, Insidious is back after 3 years or whatever. But
Very long
it
time.
yeah, but it just it felt really weird, and I could feel the vibration of the bass go through me, and it's like, oof, that's uncomfortable. But yeah, this film kind of feels like it's a little bit of a restart in a way because we shift to a different set of characters. We get Gemma, played by Amelia Eve, and she is a mom to this girl named Maya. So right here I guess we have these stakes set because Gemma is sort of unwittingly entering the further. She goes into, she'll just be like walking around at the supermarket or whatever, and then suddenly she's in a similar looking supermarket. It looks kind of dimmer, and the shoppers have these like creepy faces, like these are these demon people, and she's like, "Whoa, what's going on?" And so when you're a parent, you can't have this stuff going on when you have a kid. Like it'll just be dangerous, won't it?
Yeah, because you don't know like what could happen to them because they could get like possessed and you never know like what's real and what's not, and then you don't want to put them into an institution, you know.
Yeah. And whenever she comes back to like the real world, there'll be a moment where she's like, "Where's my daughter?" And then her daughter is with her. That's when she knows she's back in in our normal world. But then she'll notice that like someone will be acting differently from how they were before. Like there's this cashier who seemed to be really friendly, but now they're acting super mean, and so it's like, oh, okay, the demon has possessed that person now and is causing trouble, instead of bagging people's groceries, just throwing them to the ground.
And then I think like her eyes, like the eyes turn red, and there's like a demonic voice comes out.
Yeah. So right there, Gemma feels like something is off. And so she goes to see uh this sort of supernatural expert played by Maisie Richardson Sellers, and she briefly played a character named Corsella in The Force Awakens. She's on that planet Hosnian Prime, which gets blown up. But yeah, here she has a bit more screen time than there. Um, and so Gemma tells her what's been going on, and then um Maisie's character, does this thing where she calls out to the Beyond or whatever, and then we see Lynn Shay return as Elise Rayner, and she's speaking through her. Like we can see her spirit, that's the audience perspective, and she's telling Gemma through this expert, what's going on, that like she is seeing the further and there are these demons and she's like unintentionally letting them into the normal world. So what'd you think of this particular scene?
I think it's better than like most callbacks to like previous characters where it actually makes sense, doesn't feel forced, and like she's giving good like obviously it's like exposition to get the story um and she introduces the bad demon for the film that she will end up having a face off with. Um
Yeah, I felt that this was tastefully done as well. Like it didn't feel like too much. It was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is a good way to bring her into this. And so Gemma is then trying to figure out all these different solutions to try to get rid of this ability. One of the things that gets mentioned is that, okay, if you do a medical procedure, you might be able to get rid of this. Because, like, she talks about how she feels a pain in her back whenever this thing happens. And so tries getting an epidural. Um, but I thought this was a really out of place scene, going to the see a doctor and then getting an epidural and just thinking that that'll save everything, but things kind of end up looking visually dark after this moment, don't they?
oh yeah, because she transports everyone to the other world with her. So you have Dora trying to um do the epidural on her, but like they're all like surrounded by demons, and like the doctor's like going insane and just starts trying to like stab her instead.
Yeah, like I was kind of confused, like what happened here. Like, did the epidural make things worse? Like, did it basically become a portal and now people are in trouble in the demon world now, or maybe the demons have come into the real world. Like this is really disorienting for me.
Yeah, because you couldn't tell if it was actually if she brought them there or if she brought everyone else to the demon world.
Right. And so everyone is feeling a lot of fear, especially her daughter. Um, and she tries to make her daughter feel better by playing the song Sweet Caroline, because earlier in the movie they were like singing along to that, but as she's playing the song from her phone, it starts getting distorted, and I guess this is their way of making a new creepy song for the series. How'd you feel about this attempt at that sort of thing?
I think it worked too well because Sweet Caroline is such an upbeat song that they couldn't even like make it that terrifying. Like
Yeah.
it's a bit of like a garbled mess more than like something creepy.
Yeah, like for a bit it's sounding normal, but then it gets to the bit where it's like touching me, touching you, sweet Caroline. And it's just like really a mess. So then, another thing that sort of mentioned is, there's a bit of backstory that they find out regarding Devil's Tombstone, which is this place in New York State that has this rock that was the result of like uh glaciation or something, something to do with ice sheets. And so they're thinking they have to get to that to try to freeze the demons or something. This is really confusing. Like, what did you think of this whole thing?
Well, nothing was ever explained. Like they're just like the old lady was like, yes, we gotta freeze them in time and stuff. But then obviously, how do you get them into our world without them actually getting into someone else? And then even when they get to um Devil's Tombstone, they still got to like bring all the demons.
Yeah. And along the way, there are these things that I look kind of like proton packs that come into play. What do you think of that whole thing?
I think they even called them proton packs, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean it's Sony technically, so
Yeah,
they
yeah,
have
it's sort of the same
Ghostbusters
franchise.
and Insidious.
But like, yeah, I think that was how they were supposed to like they sucked them out of of, out of the further, and then they had to modify the proton pack to blow as well as suck. So they blew them out into the ice.
Yeah, and this was where it felt to me like are they just trying to do like an R-rated Ghostbusters Frozen Empire type of thing? Like what's going on here with
Yeah,
this
exactly. Yeah.
franchise?
Well, I don't think this one was even R-rated, was it? Because like no one really swore that much, and there's like hardly any gore.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I always forget that these movies are more PG-13. I guess that's how they get away with, have getting more people to see the movie. Like it's definitely darker than a Ghostbusters, but yeah, there's not really much gore. Whenever there's this moment where they're trying to fight the demons and like Gemma cuts off a demon's arm, but instead of like normal blood, we just see like it kind of looks like frozen yogurt spilling out of the socket, you know?
And like a laugh track comes off whenever they kill one.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell?
Yeah. At first, I was like, wait, why is the audience around me laughing? But then I looked around and none of them were laughing. And that was kind of spooky for me, honestly, because I'm like really questioning the reality of like I know this movie came out last August for us, but I still feel haunted by that particular theatrical experience somehow.
So it definitely worked then because it's yeah, it was very creepy.
Yeah, and I guess it was supposed to be a callback to when her daughter was watching some TV show earlier in the movie and it had a laugh track on it.
Yeah, I think
So,
they were watching Big Bang Theory.
yeah, man, I was not expecting the Big Bang Theory jump scare. Um, and we even get a moment where, as they're trying to go around Devil's Tombstone and trying to take care of all these ghosts. There's like a suspenseful moment, but then we get a jump scare where one of the demons pops up and it's like Bazinga!
But like he was wearing the Flash t-shirt as well.
Yeah. Or no, it, it it was like it looked similar to a Flash t-shirt, but because it was Sony,
Oh yeah.
they put spider webbing over the lightning bolt so that to get away with like, oh, this is like a Spider-Man type t-shirt. Yeah, man. Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do with that Stewart. messes up the universe or whatever show that is. That sounds like such an insane idea they're doing that
I'll
Big
watch
Bang Theory
it.
spin-off.
I'll watch it for the jokes, but I don't know. I mean, I'm watching Georgie and Mandy at the minute, and it's getting better, you know.
Oh,
But
that's the Young Sheldon spin-off.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm just so disenchanted with Big Bang Theory that I kind of just don't bother with that whole cinematic universe, if you want to call it that.
I mean, Young Sheldon was amazing.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, but even so, it sounds like it'd be a huge time commitment.
It's not that long, I don't think. It's only like four or five seasons, and they're like half an hour long.
Yeah, I guess that's shorter than 6, 7 seasons, you know.
I think Big Bang Theory was like 13 or something.
Yeah, it was some crazy number. Um, Also, that reminds me, in the marketing for this movie, since it's the sixth one, you would see like in the trailer next to the S and the I in Insidious, because those are highlighted in red, you would briefly see a ghostly looking X right after, so it's almost like it says in 6DS.
Yeah, it did get a little chuckle, but I was expecting like a V, like an IV or something, but
Or VI, yeah.
yeah, no.
Yeah, that'd be tough with a title either way.
In six DS, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and we also have this barkeep character, who it was like a friendly neighbor or something, but is now possessed by a demon. And so during this climactic fight at Devil's Tombstone, there's like this moral dilemma of like, oh, do I kill this person or do I try saving them? How'd you feel about how that whole thing went down?
Because they're trying to discuss with the demon like what its life was like before, like to try and see what life they led to become a demon in the first place. And then out of nowhere, the dude goes, "Oh yeah, I was Hitler," and it's like, "Oh,
Such a major eye roll during that.
the guy
Uh,
Hitler demon."
Yeah, and in that other universe, there's like that version of the Kingsman where they do a post-credit scene and Hitler is like teased as if he's like some fictional supervillain, and it was just so cringe, you know?
I don't know why he's just like such like a bait villain.
Yeah, I mean it's one thing to have like Nazi zombies to fight, like Dead Snow, stuff like that can be fun, but I guess when it's like specifically him, there's something about that just makes it so much more like or like less easy to buy and take like I don't know, there's just something about it. But in any case, there were people in my theater who were cheering like kill Hitler, and so you get this obligatory bombastic fight where, the goal is to, kill this Hitler demon. And yeah, how'd you feel about the way that this fight was conveyed?
Well, it had the Nazi song playing in the background. Was it Eliza or something? What's the song called?
Yeah, they're trying to do something with that type of song, and it makes it all the more scarier, I guess.
Yeah, because he's like
Uh,
moving like really slowly, and then he kept on like doing his salute. Um, but like
yeah.
he was even like he would just like fly towards everyone and try and go like through them. But like he was just like cracking jokes, and I was like, what are they going for?
Yeah, and with a proton pack power or whatever, they were eventually able to manage, cutting off the arms so that he could no longer do the salute. But then the arms themselves would like start attacking, so it kind of felt like it was going full Evil Dead mode, even right down to having the that point of view cam that Sam Raimi
Yeah,
loves doing.
the Zoom.
Yeah. So it really does feel like this movie was trying to go a different direction to feel more set apart and standalone from the others. But it just feels so bizarre, the choices that this one makes.
Yeah, it was a lot more comedic and like because there wasn't many like jump scares as like the previous films. It was just more like how can we make you feel awful whilst watching
Yeah.
this movie.
Yeah. And eventually they do manage to like freeze this demon and then um they try to it basically turns him into a sculpture and they sort of get this like I don't know if they like already had this, but they have this hammer with them and they basically just you know break the ice sculpture thing that he's become and just cracks into pieces. Um so yeah, how'd you feel about the way things ended up after all this?
Because everyone just started like hugging each other. It was like, oh, thank you. Oh, we're all such good friends now. And it's like, but like they didn't even like stop her from like she's still like attached to the father, and the kid is just like the kid had disappeared. Like I don't think they even mentioned the kid during like the fight and everything.
Yeah, it's like everything has gone back to normal and everyone is happy. And then she's like, I feel like I'm forgetting something. And so the twist ending of this movie is that her daughter is now somehow forgotten by the normal world. And she herself has like, I guess, turned into a like she's in the further and she meets Elise and so I guess she's turned into a spirit or something and now she and Elise are in the further and it looks like they're gonna team up and fight some of these demons or something.
It's basically become the other Insidious movies where the kid's stuck in the further and they got to try to get him out.
Yeah, that did happen already, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they try to
It's
make it look like this badass moment of a tease for a possible future installment. Um, but yeah, I don't know, like, can you really go from here and make it all that interesting, or is it just devolving into some silly actiony mess? Like, I really don't know what they were going for here. What were they thinking?
no, because like it'd be like Insidious in the into the further or something.
Yeah, into the further verse. Yeah,
It,
and also some lore stuff that I feel like wasn't fully explained very well in this one. So I feel like that's kind of missing compared to the other movies.
yeah, I feel like can have like a part two and like explain everything that they forgot.
Yeah, it's a real kitchen sink approach here, as one might say.
Yep, just throw everything in the pan.
Yeah. So is there anything else you want to bring up before we go into final thoughts?
I think so.
Okay, what are your final thoughts and score out of 10? And do you know of measurement for that score for Insidious out of the further?
Been compared to the Red Door, it wasn't as scary, but the different tone that I took made it feel like a completely different film and might even be like an Insidious movie. Like I found the only thing that like tied it to the franchise. was Elise and just calling it the further. Like it could have been like literally anything else. Like inserting like the Ghostbusters reference and basically becoming an Evil Dead film in the end. It was just like I didn't know what they were going for. So I think I'd have to give um is it out of the further six out of 10 Sweet Carolines.
All right. Yeah, I think I'd go lower for this one, honestly. I think it was worse than the Red Door, by a wide margin. I I even wonder if maybe they had a script that was going to be something else, and then they're like, "Oh, actually, let's make this an Insidious movie." Like it kind of has that type of feel. So I think I would give this 4 out of 10 angry cashiers. Um, yeah, and at this point, I don't even know if I want more from this franchise. It's left a weird taste in my mouth. But yeah, I guess that'll do it. Thanks for joining me, Greg. Do you have like any recommendations for people?
My recommendation. There was a wild film I saw the other week. I saw um Hack a Lantern.
Oh, is that like
It's
a Halloween film?
yeah, it's because it's like an 80s Halloween film where this grandfather's part of like a satanic cult, and like it turns out that like he had a child with his daughter, and he's like trying to raise the kid as um like, like to help him with his demonic stuff. But like he like they kill people in like the weirdest ways, and this is just pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm looking it up and this looks kind of ridiculous. I might need to log it on Letterboxd at some point.
And then
All
also
right.
Speed Racer. Speed Racer, watch Speed Racer. That is
Oh my
insane.
God. Not another one. Speed Racer is a movie where when I watched it like 4 or 5 years ago or whatever, it made me regret watching bad movies, and I'm like, I gotta choose movies better from now on.
Like,
But I've also heard other people praise it, so like I don't get it.
I mean, I really enjoyed it,
All
but like,
right.
it's like a psychedelic trip where like
Yeah,
you don't
it
understand anything.
yeah, I definitely agree with that. But okay, yeah, let the listeners decide if you like Speed Racer or not. All right, so I guess that'll do it. This podcast will be back with a different topic next time. So without further delay, have a good day. All right, in just a bit, you'll hear my other self share thoughts on newer movies like Hoppers, Obsession, Backrooms, some thoughts on Saw Genesis, a video game that got announced, and some other stuff, perhaps. But first, the plugs. You can email delayedreplaypodcast@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on Speed Racer, the movie. You can also follow me via the social media listed in the show notes and check out Yes Shift, a podcast I do with my dad about the prog rock band Yes and some related stuff. And you can also, I don't know, is that everything? Oh, go to stevenshinder.com for info on my standalones and stepping stones novels. Fantasy, horror, comedy with a touch of sci-fi. Really would appreciate readers and reviews always. So, yeah, that's it from me for now. And the next topic next week will be Moana, the live action remake. So there's that. Alright, without further delay, here's my other self. Hey everyone, Steven from that other universe here. Let's see. Insidious 6. That was the topic of this episode, and interesting timing that we also got the sixth installment of the Scary Movie franchise this week. And I feel like I have no desire to see it in the theater. The trailer made me raise an eyebrow, and I've been hearing the buzz is pretty negative overall from the sounds of it. And I mean, I was never the biggest scary movie fan back in the day. In fact, my memory of those parody movies of the 2000s is that they were pretty garbage, when you get into like date movie, epic movie, superhero movie, all that stuff. So, yeah, I even if people in the theater laugh, I feel like I'll probably not be laughing as much, and that's a very isolating experience. I don't really feel like getting into. I experienced that with the fourth Naked Gun movie, and I just have the feeling that this would be less funny than even that, to me, anyway. But in terms of newer horror movies that I have seen, um, I have seen Backrooms and Obsession. Those are kind of the big ones that are being talked about right now. Being talked about so much that I felt like I had to go out and see them. And like I've been saying lately, it's been kind of tough to make time and commit to going out to see certain newer movies. That's why I kind of had to skip out on Hoppers. I waited till that dropped on streaming. I did finally see that on streaming this week, and I thought it was fine overall. It was an interesting message that, you got to coexist with people. There was a certain character fate that was surprising. I think you'll know the one when you see it. But yeah, and maybe it's unfair of me to make this comparison since they're two different types of movies, but I kept thinking to myself, man, I really loved The Wild Robot more than this movie. You have kind of another animals in the wilderness themed movie, but instead of a robot being assimilated amongst them, you have a human whose mind was put in a artificial, I guess, robot beaver. Is that what this would be? Technically, man, maybe it's more similar to the Wild Robot than I realized. I mean, I know there's the Avatar comparison, which was kind of a silly thing to throw in, but yeah, overall, I'd give Hoppers a 7 out of 10. I definitely preferred Elio and some other Pixar movies. I have a feeling I might end up preferring Toy Story 5 over this. I know people are skeptical about Toy Story 5, but I really enjoyed the way 4 ended, and I think they could do it again, have another good ending. But getting back to the horror, well, first I want to touch on the Saw Genesis video game news that came out, and it's apparently this video game takes place a century before the movies, or maybe less than a century. It's like World War One-ish type of era, and I'm not sure how I feel about this idea that there was someone who was essentially Jigsaw before who we know as Jigsaw in the movies. But the trailer did kind of get me intrigued, I can't help being a Saw lore head. I am very curious to see how this game will play out, and if it could end up fitting in the Saw movie canon somehow. I don't expect a future movie to reference the game, but just kind of trying to piece together how does all of this work as a universe, There's also, apparently there's going to be a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles The Last Ronin video game, which I kind of wonder if this was gonna be a tie-in or something to get people hyped up for the live action movie that got shelved. But either way, it'll be cool to see this in some form, as a video game. It could be told pretty well.
I've read the Last Ronin comics. I've read 1 and 2 and The Lost Years, and I generally like it. Maybe people call them masterpieces, but I'm not sure I would rate them as high, but I think they're really good and would like to see them adapted as a movie still, even if animated. But yeah, I think this video game will be a cool way to adapt it either way. But yeah, getting back to horror, like I keep saying, I watched Heretic, and that came out like 2 years ago now. I thought that was interesting because you have this character who questions religion and asks some really compelling questions, and also some pop culture comparisons that somehow aren't annoying. And he's played by Hugh Grant. But of course, what he does is also in the wrong. Not letting these two, young women leave. But it was a pretty gripping film. I can't believe I missed this film. I watched it on Max, so in case anyone wants to check it out, I give it an 8 out of 10. There are head scratchers for sure, or like why would you do this type moments, but yeah, it was an interesting ride. Now onto Backrooms and Obsession. I watched Obsession first, and I was not into it. I gave it a 5 out of 10, and I do fully admit that part of it is that, where I am in my life, relative to life events. This is a compelling premise where, it's making valid points of, there are men who want women to be a certain way and would be terrible people wanting them to be stripped of agency. So that's a message that we've seen in other things as well. And I get what it was doing, but there was a decision regarding a pet that I don't think needed to be in the movie. I'll say, it's a mild thing that happens very early on, but if you want to skip ahead 30 seconds, go ahead. Early on in the movie, there's the grieving over the loss of a pet. And at first, I wasn't sure that this was going to come back later, and it does come back a couple of different points in certain ways, but in ways that are unsettling and pretty shocking and unpleasant to watch. And I know I grieved over the loss of my dog, which happened 6 months ago, so it still feels kind of fresh for me. But if you're grieving over a pet, maybe you won't want to check this one out. And yeah, because of that stuff, it was tough to, or it was even more frustrating that the guy in the movie would keep going along with the situation that he created, even though it's a very bad and very wrong situation. So yeah, this movie, I know people have latched onto it, there are memes and whatnot, but it was not a pleasant movie-going experience for me. I was pretty disappointed, and I fully admit that that's because of my personal experiences. As I just mentioned, it has valid stuff to say about relationships. Don't get me wrong, but that element that I mentioned with the pet, I don't think that really needed to be in the movie. Yeah, it also felt like there were a couple moments where they forgot to edit out a couple things. Like there was a moment where a character is smiling when you would think they shouldn't be smiling. And there's also a something that happens, and then the next scene, one of the characters reminds the other character who already witnessed it that, hey, this thing happened, as if it's the first time mentioning it. So yeah, kind of weird stuff. Now, Backrooms, I thought this was a very interesting atmosphere. It captured the vibe that you would expect from this type of movie. I've never seen the short films or read the creepypasta, but I thought it presented the premise interestingly enough. I do think it kind of took shortcuts when it came to the character development, though, and the lore. I feel like the movie needed to be either longer so that you could see a character's development a bit more, Clark particularly, or, have more explanation of like what exactly did go on here. And there are movies where you don't need to explain everything. I love Mulholland Drive, Inland Empire, but this one left me wanting to the point where it kind of felt kind of lazy the way that it kind of feels like something's going to get explained and then it just sort of fades out type of thing. Yeah, so I feel like this movie could have either been longer or much shorter. In a short film, you could get away with not explaining certain things or not showing certain character developments. So I kind of wonder if that's what the web series is like, and I do want to check out the web series at some point. And I know the big thing people are talking about with these movies is that they're from YouTubers. Obsession was from the people who did Milk and Cereal, which I hated. Like, it's just about YouTube pranksters, that movie. Is, I guess, horror comedy, but it's really annoying, that one. I think I gave that one like a 3 out of 10. But, Backrooms, I think I'd give Backrooms like a 7, maybe 7.5 out of 10. Knock it down for those things I mentioned, could have used a bit more character stuff and lore stuff. Especially since you go into this not knowing if there is an intention to make a sequel. And I do think that maybe we could. I mean, the box office for both of these movies was pretty big. It was a huge deal. People are comparing this to The Mandalorian and Grogu's box office, which, people go back and forth on. It's like, is it even worth comparing since they're different genres, different crowds? I think either way, maybe May is a not so friendly month for Star Wars movies anymore, and they should just stick to December. But yeah, very interesting to see these young YouTubers get all this success with these two particular horror movies. Let's see, what else? I watched Opus. That was another horror movie that came out last year. Kind of cult related, but it felt like 3/4 of the movie felt like a first act, like setup, and then the last quarter felt like rushed. So I gave that one a 5 out of 10. And yeah, I've seen other horror movies. I watched The Front Room after I watched Backrooms, but I gave that one like a 3 out of 10. It felt kind of boring to watch. But yeah. I watched Overlord. That was like an alternate, like World War II type horror movie, and weirdly that's when I saw the Saw Genesis announcement, was during that playing. But yeah, I've watched other horror movies. You can check out my Letterboxd, Rotten Tomato. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for me for now. And if you're listening to this on June 6th, reminder to check out IFL, Improv Team Huntington Beach Boys over at Improv Collective. We're performing in Costa Mesa. 9:30 p.m. is when the show starts. 9 o'clock is when doors open, so check that out. And the other team, Gene Wilder, which I'm on, we have a show at Fountain Valley Summerfest on June 20th. That's also a Saturday. Our performance is 8 p.m. that night. So go to summerfestfv.com for info on that whole thing, or go to improvcollective.fun for stuff happening at Improv Collective, and there you go. All right, that's it for me for now, and without further delay, have a good day.